So, and I think you're going to see more and more of that actually, just in light bulbs themselves that are capable, have these capabilities, and whole house systems. It's just going to become almost normal at some point.
Look at me. Good. I'm growing up.
Mm-hmm.
How's your week going so far, Todd?
Pretty good. Going pretty good. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's back downtown, but, going good.
Oh, yeah. We heard about that last week. Back downtown.
Right. But I'm still there 3 days this week, so not fun.
So it's going as expected?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine. It's what I expected, and it's just a pain in the butt. But one funny comment on that, and then I'll move on, was just the cabinet company that screwed these pieces up not once but twice, and now we're replacing them for the second time, which means this is the third time I'm installing. Wanted to argue about how much I was charging them to replace these, and I'm thinking, you've got to be kidding! Like, I didn't even charge you the first time I replaced them. It was a professional courtesy. Things happen. We were still on site, still had all my tools there. Said, you know what? Things happen. I'll just do it. Just speak well of me. Now they want to complain when I'm charging them. It's like, you're getting 2 guys 4 or 5 days to do this. Downtown parking, drive time, debris removal from all the old stuff that you shipped us the first time. I got to get rid of all that, Right. So anyway, that's my week.
Wow. Well, I had a very interesting morning. We had a economic forecast breakfast with our local association, and that was very enlightening and interesting and fun to hear about the economy, how it pertains to our local industry here, our local Seattle area. So it was kind of cool.
Did they not offer eggs due to the current state of the economy?
Aha.
$10 a carton for eggs.
There was a big old sheet of scrambled eggs, so I'm sure it was all the powdered stuff. So it tasted as much anyway.
And how did
it was good.
Yeah,
it was good. Yeah,
good.
Yeah,
okay.
It was good. It was very interesting to hear a lot about just like the demographics and housing starts and all kinds of different economical data.
Mm-hmm.
It was a guest speaker that once a month, she actually consults with the White House over economy. Yeah. So it was kind of cool to hear. Yeah. Just really interesting. But I had to get up at really, really early to make it into town and all that in the morning. So,
well, good to know it's worth it then. Yeah. If you're getting up early and making the trip and everything else. And
yeah, I don't know how much like action there is to take on that information per se, but it's all very interesting to know. I mean, you should know, it's your industry. It's kind of cool to hear about. And it was funny on the tariffs thing, as we all know how ridiculous that is taking its part in the headlines today and in the last week. But basically, it all came down to, I don't know. Like, we don't know. Like, it could be all over with tomorrow. He could take it all away, or he could double it. Like, nobody. It's your guess is as good as mine. And and she has all the information. And she's like, I don't know. Like,
and she still doesn't know.
Yeah. So no. Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
She's expecting like across the board, everything is just going to increase by like anywhere between 60 to 25%, or 6 to 25%. So
across the board,
just across the board, like on average, if you would average everything that you would need on a project.
That's a pretty big window.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, 6 to 25% is a pretty big window.
Yeah, let's see. I'm sorry, 6 tariffs still unfolding, likely cost bumps of 6 to 14%, not 25, 6 to 14% if building products are not excluded with lumber, window, door components, and appliances. One of the things that's going on right now with the tariffs is that they're trying to get the building products to be excluded. But as we all know, Trump has singled out lumber, so I doubt that's going to be a thing.
Yeah. Lumber, steel. Yeah.
But it's interesting because there's this little graph. I don't know how that will play on my phone showing, but you probably won't be able to read all the words, but it still kind of gives you, you're not going to be able to see anything.
Nah, too glare.
Too much of a glare. But yeah, there's a bar graph of lumber, plywood, and other hardware, all kinds of different windows, household appliances, furniture, stone, sand, shingles, iron, steel, just a big long list.
Yeah,
right. And if you were to average that all out, they're expecting 6 to 14% increase. And now this is just pertaining to the Seattle area, not across the world here.
Mm-hmm.
Which I kind of thought was a little light based off of kind of the ridiculousness that we see in the headlines. But then the very next thing she says is, we really don't know. Have like absolutely no clue. And all of the slides and everything were built a week ago. So everything has changed, and all that fun stuff. So yeah, but it was fun to hear and listen to. And evidently I got a statistic for you. I don't know what number one is. Where do you think all of the millennials in our country live? What state?
What state do I think the majority of millennials live?
I don't know what number one is. But we are number 2, Seattle.
Okay.
Is the highest population of millennials. Okay. Seattle ranks number 2.
If I had to guess, I would say that state would. If I had to guess, I want to say California, but California is too expensive.
Well, you would say that about Seattle area too.
Well, that's true. Yeah. You know what? No, I'm going to change my answer. Texas. Yeah, Texas. A lot of techie stuff. It became more affordable. Houston's had a huge uptick in population. Austin's had a growing population for years. I'm going to go Texas. Good weather, affordable areas still, tech related. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know, because a quick Google search and I'm getting all kinds of different statistics. So I don't know if what I was told today at our economic forecast meeting was correct or not, but I just did a quick Google search and saying state of Washington took the number 1 overall spot in this ranking. Too far behind was Utah, Alaska, California, and Texas.
Alaska?
Yeah.
That's strange. That's shocking. Yeah. That's shocking. I mean, Utah, I could see a lot of people working remote these days, and Utah is beautiful, so not all that surprised by that. You can go skiing, go hiking, do whatever if you get to work remote, so I can certainly see Utah. But Alaska, I'm just surprised that many people moved that far.
I'm not too surprised about Washington because of how many tech companies we have here, and everyone's that's kind of a young man's game there.
Mm-hmm.
With the whole tech stuff. So that kind of makes sense. Plus, it's just beautiful out here. Like, why would you not want to live out here other than how expensive it is? But, other than that.
And all the millennials.
Yeah. So
I heard there's a whole bunch of millennials out there. I don't want to live there.
Be careful. That's who you're going to be selling all your services to.
Yeah. How about
50 supposedly out of all the millennials generation, 53% of them actually owns houses. So
that's surprising.
Yeah, that was higher than I expected, which is awesome for them because they got houses, they own houses. My concern is like, what are the Gen Zs going to do about buying a house when they get old enough to start purchasing houses?
Mm-hmm.
It's tough to purchase a house with how expensive houses got, then, the interest rates now are, I wouldn't call them ridiculously high. I don't think a 6 or 7% interest rate is high. I remember them being much higher. My first interest rate was 8.75.
Okay.
And I thought that was a great interest rate. So it's not horrible, but in the grand scheme of things, it's been a very long time since we've seen interest rates that high. But so I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
And people got used to that lower rate, I think. And then when that did jump back up slightly, people had the expectation that housing prices were going to drop to coincide with that mortgage rate getting higher. And it didn't, so I think there was a little bit of surprise there. So now people are like, okay, I'm still paying how much money for a house, and I'm paying 7% give or take on top of it. Yeah, like you said, if you're in your 20s, I mean, yeah, that's not easy getting into a house.
Okay, well, here we go again. Another week at the Renovation Situation podcast where we pull back the layers of this modeling industry. So grab your beverage of choice. And I'm Joe. I have old fashioned today.
Oh, good for you.
Little Takamine whiskey, little Japanese whiskey to settle my nerves over finding out I live with all the millennials. What are you drinking over there today, Todd?
Todd's just going on the bourbon today. I just got some good classic Maker's Mark.
Maker's Mark, I guess. Yep.
Maker's Mark on the rocks. That's it. That's my go-to if I'm not getting creative.
With all this money that you're making, you own a company, you must be rich. You can at least get like a little nicer bottle of whiskey there.
Yeah. I don't know what to do with all the money I'm making. I just, I give my
You don't know what to do with it
boats.
because you can't find it. You can't see it. You can't find it. Everybody keeps telling me that I own a company. I must be rich, but I can't find it.
I think
Keep looking for it.
What is that? Unrealized gain, do they call it? I don't know. I think it's somewhere in the ether. Some people owe me some money in theory.
Uh-huh.
Right. Us wealthy business owners.
Yeah.
So I think we're done. I think we're just talking tariffs and the state of the economy real quick, and that was it. All right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think we were going to talk about some just overall cabinet lighting. I know we did a little bit of a 101 on electrical and lighting, and that got much more geared towards just lighting in general. And then we both kind of were talking, outside of this, and kind of thought there's just so much to cabinet lighting. So we thought we'd kind of just dive into that a little bit deeper. So there's and it's on its face, there's just, if you're talking about cabinet lighting, you have the most common under cabinet lighting. Then you have the in cabinet lighting. And then you have the over cabinet lighting. And then you even have toe kick lighting. So we thought we'd kind of get into that a little bit more and how that works. And so if you'd like to start anywhere in particular, let me know.
Let's start with under cabinet lighting. Like, the traditional, what everybody thinks of when you think of under cabinet lighting. Let's just start there.
Yeah.
I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
What do you have to say about under cabinet lighting?
First and foremost, just do it. If you're remodeling your kitchen, it's not even you're going to spend so much money on other things. The amount of money you're going to spend for the return on investment of under cabinet lighting is probably one of the best purchases you're going to make. So number one, just do it. It's a great night light. It's a great task light. It just puts a nice little shine on your backsplash, your countertops. Yeah, just kicks your kitchen up a notch. So absolutely just do it. That's first and foremost.
Yeah. I agree. I think a lot of customers feel as though it's a splurge or it's a not need.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I think once you have it, you realize the benefit of having it. And also, it's not, you mentioned it's good for task lighting. It's good for night light.
Mm-hmm.
Also ambiance, right? It just looks cool, makes it feel a little homier and nicer and cooler and makes it feel like one of those pictures you've seen in a magazine. Mm-hmm. So it makes you like your kitchen a little bit more too, I think. So I agree 100%.
Yeah. 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 So
get on board with that. Let's get into the different types of under cabinet lighting and let's start with what not to use, because when I first moved out here, I realized that the go-to under cabinet lighting was the very thing that we got rid of in the Midwest years ago, and they were still using it. I don't see it very much anymore, which is this boxy looking, now it's an LED, sure, but it's this big boxy looking thing that gets screwed on the bottom of your cabinet, right? And you're thinking, good gravy. Do you really want to see these ugly things underneath your cabinet?
No, I do not.
No.
I
don't know how you feel about that there, sir.
I feel terrible about it. I would like
you
to
see
remove
those
that
at all?
picture from the screen if you could. Thank you. Yeah.
Will do. Happy.
Yeah. No, cannot. Like that's such a just oversized, just obnoxious aesthetic for what you're trying to achieve. You know?
Right.
I mean, we are literally
agreed, 100%. Not needed.
Tape lights. They're
tape lights.
They're that thick. And you have this giant box. No.
Yeah. Ridiculous. Why?
Right.
So please don't use those, contractors out there. Homeowners request LED strip in a diffuser. So what we would like to see is something like this, where it's a strip light. It slides into a diffuser of some sort. Mm-hmm. Usually it's rabbited. That channel is rabbited into the bottom of the cabinet. And then everything's all easy peasy, lemon squeezy, looking nice and peasy there. So
no hot spots on the counter.
No hot spots. And don't just
take the tape light and just stick it to the bottom of the cabinet, because it does have a peel and stick. They all do. And I'll be completely honest. When I first started using them, I think I did one kitchen like that. I just peeled it and stuck it and said, "Oh God, this is great. You can run it wherever you want." And I was working on someone else's kitchen a couple weeks back, and I saw that just the tape light just taped up there, and I just thought, "Oh my God, that's terrible.
That's gonna fall down."
Yeah, right. Yeah. So that's the thing. And again, another reason to use a diffuser, like number one, avoiding the hot spots. Number two, just a cleaner, nicer look. But in the event that adhesive fails, because it will, it's going to just stick right inside that diffuser, and it's fine. It doesn't matter if it falls. It's going to show exactly the same. Yeah. So absolutely use those. They're always just aluminum channels. They'll come in different colors, but you said a lot of times they're integrated into the bottom of the cabinet itself. You can get a nice little panel that so it's really modern looking and really cool and integrated. So you don't even see the bottom of that raw cabinet. I've had a couple clients over the years that that bothers them, because they may have that kitchen table or that little nook that they sit at, and they look across the room, and all they can see, if they, like, say you had walnut cabinets or some dark stained cabinets and some nice backsplash, but all they can see is that raw, unfinished cabinet underneath. And that's a little bit of an eyesore to some people, which is understandable. So you get the nice cabinet panel, you route those under cabinet channels into that, and it's nice, clean, across the board, nice, clean look.
Yes. What not to do with those is to hire an electrician who wants to staple them to the bottom of your cabinets. That, believe it or not, has happened to Todd. So
I don't know what you're talking about.
Let's make sure we hire electricians to know what they're doing.
Yes. He was a licensed electrician too.
I know.
Just saying.
I know.
He's
I'm not trying to bring up old stuff, but just saying. Let's That's what we're here for, to live through those mistakes so you don't have to.
Right. I will say that the most commonly, you said, you're going to get just that straight channel, and you can just set that as far back as you want in that cabinet. I usually, if a typical 12-inch deep cabinet, I like to set them 4 inches back. That's just kind of my standard. I don't like
4
them to
inches
be
back from the front of the cabinet or from the back of the cabinet?
I like to go
from
4 inches back from the front. I like them to be more on the countertop than I do the backsplash. Having said that, by all means, depending on your splash, depending on your top, if you want to shift those back, take the time to just, put a little channel together, hook them up and see what it looks like if you're going front to back. And they also have ones, I think the picture you showed actually was a 90-degree angle channel. And when you have that diffuser on there, that's going to show more of a 45, kind of a dome-shaped diffuser. And those, a lot of times, people will take them and put them just behind the front style of the cabinet. So they're just going to shine towards the back and bottom.
Yep.
So there's some different options out there, but play with them in terms of, what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you're not used to these things, the more you work with them, the more your designer plays with them, the more everyone gets involved with them, you'll start working out the kinks of what you like and dislike, and what is generally kind of normal.
Mm-hmm.
Like we said earlier in a podcast previously, what we do currently for us is our custom cabinet guy will route out the bottom of those cabinets for the channel, provide the channel, and that way the channel and the fuser is ready to go and it's already routed and ready. And then the electrician comes and just puts the light through there, the strip light through there. Now, another alternative to that same light. Now we're still underneath the cabinet, the upper cabinet, right? And we're casting light down onto the countertop. What we could do is we can integrate the lighting, the under cabinet lighting, with the outlets. And what we can do here is we can have one unit that kind of gets recessed, well, not really recessed, but mounted underneath the cabinet, but in the back corner against the wall in the cabinet. And that's going to be at like a 45-degree angle where you're going to have a bunch of outlets. And it also has a light integrated into it. I installed these in my own house, previous home of mine, and I absolutely love them. The benefit is if you have a really cool or intricate or detailed backsplash that you're trying to create, this is a good way to get rid of those outlets. That way you don't have to cut around them, have these ugly outlets in the middle of your nice, cool countertop or backsplash. Mm-hmm. Really like them. I didn't have a problem with them at all. Installing them, easy to install and everything. They kind of look like this. They can be just the outlets. They can be the outlets and the light integrated in them. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just a cool overall look. And as you can see on this picture here, you don't have any outlets in the backsplash. So you get this nice, streamlined, cool look. I really liked it. Mm-hmm. It's another idea.
Yeah.
Another play. Now, dependent on your local codes, you'll have to explain to the inspector what you're doing because they're going to want to see outlets along the cabinets there, the countertop there. So just be prepared. It's all legal, just dependent on what inspector you talk to, but it works. Works well.
Yeah, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to back an inspector down. They're not always right.
No, and they don't always know the new stuff out there. And most often, if you just talk to them and also be prepared to provide the manufacturer's recommendations on how things are installed, they will generally always kind of fall back on what the manufacturer suggests and how to install. And then hopefully you find one that has common sense and is willing to work with you, and you're all good because it's not so common.
They're out there.
Yeah. So have you ever used those angle?
I have. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
What do you think about them?
For the same reason. We did them because they had that slab stone that was going, that they're using for the splash, and that was not a cheap slab stone. So they didn't want to see any outlets. So we used them. And at first, I'll be honest, I was kind of skeptical only from a functionality point of view, where I was just like, you're going to be like underneath, like trying to plug stuff in like this. It just seemed like that would be kind of a pain in the butt, as opposed to here's your outlet right here. You're kind of crouching down. But then there was the kind of, if you have something's plugged in, how often are you unplugging like your little small appliances? Your coffee maker or a lot of those things are pretty stationary. And it's not like it's that big of a pain in the butt to,
okay, so let me talk about that because I lived with these.
Mm-hmm.
Aesthetically, it's not pleasing to see a cord going up to the corner, right?
Mm-hmm.
So things that I didn't use often, I would unplug and just kind of tuck away. So you are right, though. Like if you're using a toaster every day, 2 times a day or something like that, then you're probably leaving it plugged in and you just kind of live with the cord. The cool thing is if you entertain a lot, you could clean it all up and it looks really cool. Right. And then on a daily basis, when you're using it every day, you might want to leave the coffee maker plugged in just so it's convenient for you.
That's a good point. Yeah. I didn't think about entertainment reasons. That's a good point.
Yeah. Your stand mixer, you might want to keep unplugged because you're not using that every day.
Right.
Well, maybe you're making bread every day. I don't know. Toodles to you.
In which case, good for you, retired person. Yeah.
I make sourdough bread every Sunday. So
every Sunday.
Mine only gets plugged in once a week. One last thing on this under cabinet lighting is another way you can do all this stuff, which is kind of cool and interesting if you want to be creative. So now we've already established that we can get rid of the outlets out of the backsplash. And we can put them in the corner. But what if you don't want the corner? Because you can still kind of see them potentially, depending on your cabinet and your light rail and all that. But what if we recess them into the bottom of the cabinet? And got an example here for you. What do you think about something like this?
The light, I love it. The outlet, I don't.
Okay. Kind of weird.
Yeah, I hate the outlet.
So you got the strip bar outlets, right? So it's in the picture here, there's 4 outlets and it's just a bar of outlets and then it's recessed into the bottom of the cabinet. Now, my question is that is most likely protruding into the bottom of the cabinet? So like, can you see in, like, if you were to open up the cabinets, are you going to be able to see the top of this bar of strip outlets?
I would certainly hope not.
I've never done this.
They took that into account somehow and either had just a deeper recess to the bottom of that cabinet to accommodate that, and maybe have kind of an oversized rail in the front there.
Yeah, what I would like to see is, which is not in this photo, so that's why I'm thinking that they're going to be able to see it in the bottom of the cabinet. But what I would have done is I would have installed a sacrificial under cabinet piece of wood that matches the cabinets, right? And that would give you the space that you would need to kind of recess it into that. Because there's always, half an inch or something underneath the cabinet.
Yeah.
So if you were to mount another 3/4 piece there underneath with your light rail, I think you would have enough.
Yeah. Yeah. If you have the light rail on there or a built up rail itself.
Yeah.
But I would hope they would account for that. I'd be pretty pissed off if I open up my cabinet door and here's a just electrical box sitting in there. It's like, well, can't put plates on there. Yeah. Put a couple cups in the front and put my plates on the next shelf. Yeah.
100%.
No, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So we talked a little bit about the type of light, the strip light. Like we want to use that strip light. And we talked about putting it in a diffuser. We talked about how we don't like the old school, which they're not really old school, but
they still make them and put them in.
Yeah, they do. But those big blocks of plastic underneath there, we don't like those.
Nope.
But what's new, well, kind of new, is these flexible strips of, kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you were a kid where they had these rope lights. Kind of reminds me of those. And I remember when we were at IBS, we saw these, we ran into these, thought they were really cool.
Yes.
They were twisting them and all around. And it's kind of got the diffuser built into them. You can twist them and turn them and bound them up. You can even tie them in a knot even. I think these are really, really cool for many different applications. I don't know if I would use this for an under cabinet lighting situation. I imagine you could and not have a problem. Maybe reset those in and glue them in or something. I don't know, but I don't know. They're really cool because how flexible they are.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had a project where I would find a use for those, because I do think they're super cool. But I mean, just the fact that I remember, like you said, I remember that girl that was given the seminar on that, just tying it in a knot and just like, you could do whatever you wanted with that. And I was like, that is so cool. I don't know. I just don't know what am I building? I don't know. I just like it's got to be something artistic that's going to have some crazy cool curves to it, or like some real decorative like wine display kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whatever that project is, I welcome it. I hope it comes my way, because I would love to use those at some.
Yeah. Same. Very much same. Never used them. I don't know. They were really cool. Everybody was in awe of them. Of course, they're all dimmable and all that fun stuff, but really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
While we're on the topic of dimmable and also IBS, another thing that we learned there is what's called, I'm making sure I got this right, dim to warm, right? I got that right? Dim to warm.
Yes.
And
dim to warm.
This is the idea where we're not dimming a light by restricting the voltage to the light bulb. This is the idea of dimming the light by way of Kelvin temperature. So in a previous podcast, we had talked a little bit about Kelvin temperature and how that relates to the color of the light. 5,000, 6,000 being very blue, very much like daylight, and 2,000, 2,500, 1,800, that's going to be orangey and red and more warm, soft light, right? So there's this new dim to warm, so when you go and dim the dimmer, it's actually changing the temperature of the light. And I think that's really cool. I think
agree.
This is really awesome.
Yes.
And so you can see on the screen here, you have 3,000 on the left and 1,800 on the right. And you can kind of see the difference in color temperature. It's not shrinking the voltage or restricting the voltage down to the light. So kind of cool.
Right.
I think it's really cool.
What
do you
awesome.
Think about that stuff? Yeah.
I think it's awesome. I think, and they started integrating this into like whole house systems. I mean, that's a whole other, like, if I was just getting into this business, that's probably what I would strive to get into, is just all these home automated systems that incorporate that kind of stuff, where they're doing the dim to warm that's supposed to kind of correspond to your, what do you call it? Like your sleeping habits and how you respond to light.
Something rhythm.
Circadian rhythm.
Yeah, that's
your circadian rhythms. Thank you. So it's all corresponding to that. So that whole system is you're going to start at 5,000 during the day if you need your lights on during the day, because that's what you're naturally used to. And as the day progresses, as the night goes on, the sun's going down, it's getting later and later, you're going to end up at that candlelight type color where you're just going to be, your body's naturally winding down. And the more and more all these like sleep studies come out, there's so many people that have problems sleeping. I'm not one of them, thank God. I'll fall asleep at 9 o'clock on the couch. Like, I have no problem. But there's a lot of people that have problems sleeping. So it's great for something like that. It's helping your body naturally calm down throughout the day. And maybe that helps you sleep better throughout the night and overall health, So I think it's fascinating that they can do that. But in the small application that we're talking about, I still think it's super cool. if you're using that for under cabinet lighting, like we've talked about a couple of times already, you just have that as a mood light or a night light later. You're entertaining and you don't want all these lights on. You just have your, maybe you have your bottle of wine and your, charcuterie board on the counter, and you just have that nice candle light showing that off, right? These are the parties I have in my head.
Yeah.
But I think, super cool feature. Super cool feature. So, and I think you're going to see more and more of that actually, just in light bulbs themselves that are have these capabilities, and whole house systems. It's just going to become almost normal at some point. So
I agree.
I don't know.
I hope so. Yeah. I think so. Technology will catch up.
Yeah.
With our technology doesn't need to catch up. What needs to catch up is our expectations, and the demand for them needs to catch up.
Right.
The knowledge. Like, I bet you a lot of people don't even know that it exists. So
right. Yeah. Yeah. So I think we covered under cabinet pretty well.
Yeah, we did.
Just in terms
of the biggest, most,
it's the biggest.
That's what everyone thinks so.
Yeah, it's the biggest for sure. But there are the other ones out there, right? There are the interior cabinet lighting, which you don't see nearly as often anymore. I used to see it a lot with just the one puck light up there, and either just had that shine that one upper shelf, or you had to change to all glass shelves to get that to cascade through, and it's pretty passe. You don't really see those anymore. You may occasionally have someone who wants just one cool thing that they want a focal point on or something, but that's really about it. But instead of doing that one puck light, what did we start to do now, right? The insides of the styles, where you have those just integrated built-in lighting, which can be great, maybe not necessarily even for a kitchen, but for things like bookcases. We do a lot of built-ins and fireplace surrounds and that kind of stuff. So that certainly comes in handy for those applications. Exactly. Yeah. So you get that nice consistent. Like that. Yeah. I think I assisted you installing.
You partook on that. Yep. So the light on this cabinet is radiating from the front of the cabinet in the sense of it's recessed in the behind that rail in the front cabinets coming down. Mm-hmm. So it's the vertical. So you get nice lighting throughout every shelf. I think that's the best way to do it. Again, the cabinet guy could route out that inside of that style for you there. And I think that's the best way to do it. I think it looks awesome that way too.
Yeah. Clean, uniform lighting.
Yeah. I think it's really cool. You mentioned puck lighting. Ugh.
You don't want a hot halogen puck light? You're just, no? Go to plug something in on your counter and burn your arm?
Yeah, man, I'm so glad that is not popular.
Yeah. Remember those little halogen puck lights?
I remember those, yeah.
You had to wear gloves to change the bulb because you couldn't touch the oil on your fingers, couldn't touch the bulb. Like, oh my God. The things we used to do. You know?
Yeah. Things we used to do. What ridiculousness. So
we can go up or down from
lights.
there. So that's
so as far as lighting, so we can have you're meaning toe kick lighting or over cabinet lighting?
Over the cabinet lighting.
Over at the top, the tippy top.
And
because who doesn't want to put a bunch of light on their ceiling? Like, hey, look at my pretty ceiling.
Well, I will say I've seen it look nice. You get into those 10, 12-foot ceilings and you're not running your cabinets all the way to the top, obviously, especially 12-foot ceilings. You get no way unless you're living in a library. So just to have that, if you have, I've seen some people utilize that where there's something like that. That's nice ambiance. And if not that, even if you have more space, some people will put some cool, just novelty type stuff. So maybe some art pieces up there, or just some little copper tray or something, or some kitchen-esque, some kitchen kitsch, I guess you could call it. Some little novelty stuff to throw up there.
Sure. Just a bunch of stuff to collect dust up there. Yeah.
Oh, it's a dust catcher. Yeah. It's a dust catcher. Yeah.
Yeah. But I like the ambiance, kind of like a backlighting kind of scenario in the in the kitchen, creates a nice environment, especially when you're entertaining and or things are winding down and you don't need those task lights. I think it could look cool depending on how your ceiling is and what you got going on up there. But yeah, definitely an option.
Yeah.
Still want to do the diffuser up there, right? You still want that diffuser. You don't want to run these LED strips. So you're still using the same under cabinet lighting, but you're putting it up now behind the crown molding or whatever you have up there. And you don't have to recess this into the cabinet at all because it's all hidden. So you can mount it on the top of the cabinet, be hidden by your crown molding, assuming you have crown, right? But you still want the diffuser up there.
Yes. Yeah, agreed. You don't want any hot spots anywhere.
No hot spots. You want to see all the little dots?
Good God, no.
Although the lights now are much better than even if you don't have a diffuser. You don't get those spots now.
Just because of less spacing on the diodes?
I don't know if it's less spacing or the way the light is distributed out of each one of those diodes or whatever. I don't know, but I've seen a few of them lately that they almost are like a diffuser of themselves, but they're still going in a diffuser.
Yeah.
Not only that, I mean, it's good protection too. I mean, throwing stuff around, hit one.
Yeah.
Protect it. Don't got to worry about it. Upper cabinet up there. Still,
you're reaching up all over the place trying to find your outlet that's buried underneath your cabinet so you can plug your coffee maker in. You're going to scratch it and scrape it right off the...
Yeah, sure.
Protect them.
Sure. All right. Well, I guess that just leaves us with the bottom.
Yeah. Last but not least, you get your toe kick lighting.
Yeah, we want to see those toes. Hope you had your pedicure.
You know, I don't see a lot of, certainly don't get a lot of requests for it. And I certainly that's not really an upsell for me either. I don't really even run it by anybody. I feel like that's kind of a one-off. It's just kind of a one-off thing, but I'm not opposed to them. I've seen them look really good. That looks nice, I think.
Okay. We do a lot of those.
Do you really?
Toe kick lighting is a lot. And we do that a lot.
No kidding. Millennials like them, huh?
In almost every bedroom, or not bedroom, and every bathroom.
In every bathroom?
Yeah, especially in the master bathroom, for sure. And what we do is...
Like a nightlight feature?
Kind of like a nightlight feature, except it's not on all night. We set it to a motion sensor. So every time you walk into the room, that light is the first light that kicks on no matter what. You'll have that toe kick on when you walk into the room based off of a motion sensor, which instead of having a motion sensor that you would normally have instead of a switch for your overhead light, a lot of people will put a motion sensor in there instead of a switch. That way you don't have to turn the light on and off, and mostly because everyone forgets to turn it off. So you put it on. But what we do is we mount that same motion sensor on the floor down low, like where an outlet would be, that height down there. And that way you don't see it. It's down there. It catches you when you walk in.
Foot traffic.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
I like it. Yeah. It's a good idea.
My customers love it. Yeah. I installed the same thing in my house and I like it. One thing I did not think about is the cat and the dog in the middle of the night. That light does kick on and off because my cat's walking around in the middle of the night, or the dog gets up and decides he wants to go sit on the tile floor or whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's interesting.
I forgot heated tiles. Yeah. Smart dog.
Also, what's cool is those sensors, the motion sensor, it doesn't turn on if it's daylight, if there's enough daylight coming on into the room. So let's say you have a big skylight or something like that in the room, there's enough light in the daylight in the room, it's not going to kick on and off, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
You don't need it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's really
cool. Yeah. I like that.
So we do a lot of those.
I will start upselling them.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Yep. I want a royalty for everyone you sell now.
You got it.
What else? One last thing I think we haven't touched on is, do you want to talk about like the wiring of these things?
I mean, I think we should do a quick basic
diagram maybe.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, these are all low voltage systems, right? So the majority of the time we're doing these, we're going to have a compatible switch, a typical, Lutron, Leviton switch that's going to be compatible with the system that we're using. That switch is going to run to an outlet. That outlet is going to be somewhere convenient where we're putting that driver or that transformer. For those of you who don't know, that driver or transformer is what regulates, it changes that 120 to low voltage. So that driver is going to plug right into that outlet. That switch turns on, activates that driver, changes to low voltage, and you have low voltage wiring that leads to all your lighting. And what you're showing there is a really nice little system. It's just, we always call a plug and play. It's funny that we're showing puck lights because we just said we'd never use puck lights, but
assume all those puck lights are rope lights or strip lights.
It's a great diagram nonetheless. So there's that plug and play feature. So you're not doing a whole bunch of different wiring connections. You have just different leads that are going to come back to that driver and plug right in, almost like an old phone jack, right? They're just going to plug right in and you're up and running. It's they're pretty easy to connect. The couple things just to consider are, number one, how long your lighting, literally linear feet, how long your lighting is, so that you're properly sizing that driver, because it's all going to come in different wattages. 15, 25, 45, 60, whatever it might be. Any decent manufacturer is going to have a quick calculator for you just to say, okay, we're doing this many linear feet of lighting. How much of a driver do we need? And those are going to be cost appropriate to the wattage, right? The higher the wattage, the higher the price. The other thing to consider with that is where you're putting that driver, because you want it to be accessible, but you don't want it to be sitting underneath a cabinet, just screwed up to the bottom of the cabinet. And it's like, well, it's right there. You don't want to put it inside a cabinet. I personally like to put it in a sink base, because you already have garbage disposal, dishwasher, you have so much stuff that's already concentrated there that I feel like if you make nice space for that, you have it off to the side somewhere, it's on a side wall of the sink base towards the back. It's accessible if the electrician needs it. You're already running electric in that sink base for disposal, dishwasher, what have you. So for an electrician to add another outlet right there, that's for the under cabinet lighting, is a non-issue. So that's usually my favorite space, unless you're doing the over cabinet lighting, in which case just put that driver right on top of the cabinets, right next to the lights. So that's what I got as far as connections.
I like it. The only last thing is just plan ahead during rough-in for the electrician. Tell them where you want the outlets to be. So if you're doing uppers, then you want to put an outlet way up high above the cabinets there. If you are running, like Todd suggested, into the sink bay, then you want to get an outlet in the sink bay area down into the cabinet. All righty. I think we got through that under cabinet lighting. Hopefully you learned something.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.